Tom and Rand, thanks for being here. I'll just do a quick intro. I'm going to hand it off to you guys. So for everyone on the Expo, it's really cool. We have the Tom Clark Show, Executive Director of Rocky Mountains Propane Gas Association. He's going to be talking a little bit about what's going on with natural gas in his neck of the woods, the whole Rocky Mountains area, and how we as a propane industry can, band together and learn. So Tom and Rand, they actually run a talk show on propane, and it's on 5 different radio stations. It's all about us being able to not just be on radio stations, but also to inform our customers and inform the industry. They create these into podcasts, then they package them so we can learn while on the fly. It's really brilliant. Thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for being here. I'm going to hand off to you.
Well, let's talk a little bit, if we can, about the industry, about things that are going on in the industry. And something big that's going on with propane right now, and people need to understand, there's a lot of different fuels and power sources out there that collect a lot of subsidies, that collect a lot of taxpayer dollars to do what they're doing. Propane, by and large, is not doing that. We're providing power on our own. But something in the news that just came down is that propane could be the new diesel, with a $3.5 million U.S. Department of Energy grant. Propane could be competitive with diesel as a cost-saving, energy-efficient fuel for large trucks and school buses and more. And our fine friends at the Colorado State University, go Rams, the mechanical engineers were awarded $3.5 million in U.S. Department of Energy grants to develop a new high-efficiency propane engine. And they're going to spend the next 3 years working, with large manufacturers, developing an advanced combustion strategy for direct injection large propane engines. That speaks volumes when that kind of money and grant starts going through.
You just talked about the other subsidies that other groups get. This isn't even a subsidy. This is going to a university as a grant. If you look at how much money the U.S. has spent with just Tesla alone, and not the government subsidies that Tesla received, but the government subsidies that the rich people that are buying those cars have received, they maxed out their 200,000 subsidies at $7,500 a piece. That's $1.5 billion. Then that's just one portion of their subsidies. Tesla also receives hundreds of millions of dollars. I think Q2 report just came out for them, and they received $400 million in subsidies on top of all the other subsidies that you get to buy that car. If we were able to get a drop of that kind of money for propane, there wouldn't be no Teslas. Look, the bottom line is propane hardly receives any federal or state subsidies, and when they do, they're minuscule compared to what the electric industry is getting, and it's massive amounts of money, and it's the ROI is just not there.
And we've talked about the inefficiency of electricity. Everything it takes to create electricity, and how much is lost in transmission of electricity. Did you say 60% is lost just transmitting?
It's over 60%. Yeah.
Think about that. You're spending all this time and money to develop a bucket of electricity. Think of it that way. There's a bucket of electricity. A lot's gone in to create that. By the time it gets to the consumer, over 60% is lost.
Yeah.
Just in the transmission of that.
It's a huge waste of power resources. Propane, when you transport it, you're either transporting it in a pipeline or a truck, and you don't lose that. You hardly lose a tiny bit, but it's not even measurable. There's so many reasons why you need to choose propane as your energy source, and efficiencies in transportation is just one of them.
And you can find out more about what propane can do for you, and a lot of the stuff we're talking about in past shows as well for folks that are just joining us. You can just go to thestateofenergy.com and get all the information about who we are, how propane can improve your life, and then also how to get involved in the show. We do this show every week. We're on broadcast stations throughout. I guess the Rockies would be a good place to put it, a good way to put where all stations are at right now.
Right. And we're open. this is not just for the Rocky Mountain states. I mean, it's our 4 states and the Rocky Mountain Propane Association are the ones that really, put this together. But if you are anywhere around us or anywhere you want, we can take our show. We'll send you the files, and you can broadcast them any station you want, and you can sponsor our podcast too. So that's obviously. Yeah.
And join us on the show. Well, we can do a whole show with you as a sponsor, talking about your resource and how your resource can help the people that listen to our show, not only in the Rocky Mountains, but across the country. And again, 15 countries around the world, 165 cities now. And so, we talked about the $3.5 million U.S. Department of Energy grant, a news story that just actually dropped yesterday. Something else just dropped is the New York Stock Exchange is now removing Chesapeake Energy after their bankruptcy filing. Now, Chesapeake is one of the nation's largest natural gas producers, and now they've been removed from the New York Stock Exchange because Chesapeake has a long history of scandal, including the former CEO. You guys will probably remember this a few years back. He crashed his car into a bridge and burst into flames and killed himself right after he was indicted. So think about all the things that have to be wrong for you to want to crash your car into a bridge and kill yourself.
Well, what happens when one of the largest natural gas producers files bankruptcy?
Doesn't that lead to a natural gas shortage?
Or price increases? And what do we make with natural gas? A lot of electricity. So it's like all of your energy. People are like, oh, natural gas. I don't even use natural gas. It's not that big of a deal. Well, I guarantee you, if you got your lights on, you're using some natural gas because a lot of electricity is produced by natural gas. There's so many different things that'll come out of this bankruptcy, more than just another company folding under. A lot of people blame this on the economy crashing or oil prices dropping, but like you said, these guys have been in the middle of scandals for decades. So this is not just a drop in energy price problem. This is a corporate issue, and they're not going to recover well. It's not going to recover.
It's not going to recover well. And now we know a lot of you folks understand the difference between liquid natural gas and propane, but we just got word that the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders are watching. So let's go ahead, if we can, just briefly break down the difference between liquid natural gas and propane.
All right. So the LNG guys, they framed this up perfect for this to roll out with some legislative incentives that they went into early on and asked for $125 million in rate increases. So they got that approved in 2018. This is the Utah state legislation. They went in and approved Dominion to spend $125 million and then increase their rates so that everybody pays for it. Now, I got a 94-year-old grandma who lives in the city and is using natural gas. She's going to end up paying for this expansion because her bill is going to go up as well. So all these million users are going to pay for this. And they said that they wanted to go down into a town, Kanab, Utah, which is a small town of 6,000 people. It was probably time for them to get a public utility. That's what the legislators said that was going to go to. That never happened. They never ran that pipeline down there, but they still got the $125 million to spend. So what happens next? They come out after they got the legislators to agree that you can spend $125 million, charge the ratepayers for it. The following year, they came out and said, hey, guess what? We don't have enough natural gas to provide to the customers that we already have. So now we need to build this LNG station so that in the wintertime, they can degas the LNG and put it into the pipeline and service the million customers. After that, they said, we're going to run some pipelines into Eureka, Utah. And I said, well, aren't you guys supposed to run this pipeline into Kanab, Utah? And they said, oh, no, we're going to run LNG down there. We're going to truck LNG down there. We just got permission to build this plant. We're going to use this $125 million to plumb the town with natural gas infrastructure. And then they're going to set up an LNG station to degas and run that gas throughout that community. The problem with that is they they're competing with propane. So now they got to truck it just like propane does. And eventually, after they get the rate cases and everything settled in, they will go back to the legislators and say, now that we got this infrastructure down there, it's not really cost effective for us anymore. So we need more money so we can run the pipeline from wherever it is, 100 miles down the road, so we can hook these guys up to the main line. That's the trick that they've been doing.
Sounds like an intentional oops. Oh, hey, by the way, you guys, I know that we got the 125 million, but
we can't service the customers we already have. So yeah, it sounds scandalous to me. And
well, there's too many coincidences of things that are lining up here that just don't make sense. It just doesn't. It kind of like is shades of the Crow Creek pipeline.
It's exactly so. The Crow Creek pipe. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that pipeline, the Crow Creek pipeline, if nobody's familiar with this pipeline, it's a pipeline in Idaho that's being proposed to go to Wyoming. And it's the same exact stuff that Dominion is doing right now in Salt Lake. So there is a town in Afton, Wyoming that has an LNG degassing station, and they pipe the town, and they're all using natural gas through this LNG, this liquid natural gas facility. They came out, and this was put in 20 years ago. They came out and said, this isn't profitable for us. We have to truck this LNG in here. It's not working out for us. We need to expand this pipeline through the wilderness and tie these guys into the main line. Well, nobody moves to Afton, Wyoming, so they can look at a big scar going through the wilderness, so they can have some gas. These guys were perfectly happy with propane before. And these LNG guys, it's really your fault, Rand. It's California's fault, because you guys are kicking propane out, or you're kicking natural gas out. So realistically, though, the Californian legislators, cities, towns, communities, they're not allowing natural gas pipelines to go in the ground anymore. So what happened? These guys are basically, they keep moving east because they can't get it. They can't get the pipelines in the ground in some of these, heavily.
So California is pushing these companies like Dominion east.
Yeah. Well, and Dominion's already east. I mean, they're big. They're a big company. So that's another problem with spending all this money in Utah, is there's no profits that are shared here in Utah. I mean, you talk about taking out a propane company to replace it with natural gas is really hard on the local economy, because these propane companies are local guys. They're buying local trucks. They're spending money locally. They got local employees. The profits are local. And a Dominion Energy profits are going to be blown by shareholders in the East Coast. It's not going around full circle like a propane company's is.
And that's it's the beauty of propane. It's just, there's a lot of upside. Again, I know we talked about this a while ago, but the people, by and large, everyone I've met in the propane industry, they're just solid, good people. And I don't know what it is. I mean, I guess maybe it's just there's a core of good people that, spur other good people to get involved. And it just seems like the propane industry is like a cohesive movement where, there's not a lot of infighting and people cutting out, people at the knees to get ahead. Is that a good way to explain that there, Tom?
Well, there's lots of competition in the propane industry, and they seem to work well together. And the natural gas guys, they got the market cornered, so they don't have to compete with anybody. And they got all these legislators on their side. They've got big groups of lobbyists, and they're trying to put old school technology of pipeline in the ground, where propane is. What I call it is like the cellular industry. We're the cellular of the telecommunications. Propane is we're mobile. We are the new technology for gas infrastructure. If you're considered a landline, like a telephone, versus a mobile phone, nobody buys a landline anymore.
Do you have a landline?
I mean, I don't have it. It's not hooked up. It probably doesn't work.
I haven't had a landline. I can't remember the last time I had a landline. I really can't.
Most of them don't even work anymore. But I think we still, I'm pretty sure you buy a new house and they're still going to run a telephone line, I think.
But anyway, but by and large, the propane industry is like, the advent of the mobile phone industry.
Exactly.
We're next generation. We're clean. We're good for the environment. And that's something that people don't realize, and I don't think that propane gets enough credit for, is what it does to help the environment versus these other fuels that leave such a heavy footprint that are supposed to be eco-friendly.
Yeah, that's one thing with the natural gas. I don't think a lot of people understand is the methane part of the natural gas is some of the worst greenhouse gas, the worst greenhouse emissions contributor, more than carbon. It produces more greenhouse gas emissions from the methane than it produces carbon emissions. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
no, it does.
It's not that great, perfect, clean gas that everybody thinks. So propane is actually cleaner than natural gas because we don't have that methane aspect.
And I know this is going to kind of shift us back to some stuff we were talking about earlier, but with Tesla, we were comparing the lifetime of the car. Was that it? Like how much emissions the lifetime of one car, or was it the rocket? The SpaceX rocket.
Yeah. So no, that scenario was how many rockets are actually get launched, and
right.
the funny part about Tesla was, they're trying to clean up the environment with this magic electricity, but then they go around and launch a bunch of dirty rockets. So we want Tesla to either make an electric rocket or start using some propane. Or not Tesla, we want SpaceX to start using an electric rocket, or they need to start using propane. They're gonna have to step up the game.
Something else that I like about the propane industry, it's very family centric. And we've talked about PERC, the Propane Education and Research Council, and they've done something for kids. During this time of lockdowns and quarantines, parents and caregivers are looking for outlets for kids. And now the Propane Education Research Council, also known as PERC, has rolled out propanekids.com. And it's an interactive online activity center for parents and caregivers of preschool and young school children looking for learning opportunities. And it includes games, activities, science experiments for children, and are designed to reinforce the importance of propane safety in education with focus on the farm. You can do virtual farms, create your own farm, play games like Farm Bingo and Spot the Difference, and color digital coloring pages, and a lot more. It's a great resource if you're someone that's taking care of kids during the day or night, and it's just you're looking for something new during this time of lockdown and quarantine. Something very interesting that's educational is propanekids.com, thanks to our friends at PERC.
Yeah, it's a great little program that they put together. It's really nice to get kids involved in an early age. It's got some safety aspects, and a lot of families use propane for all sorts of reasons, not just grilling. Their whole house or farm or business can run on propane.
Car, vehicles. I mean, we talked about this earlier. It's police stations, the post office, fleet vehicles. The propane option is something that's very viable, that's great for the environment, and can save a lot of money in the long run. And especially with what's happening with Colorado State University and the investment they're making in the propane engine research, it's only going to evolve to an even higher level. And that's why it's such a great opportunity to get involved in propane right now. And again, if you're someone that's watching this that has a propane type business and you'd like to join us on our show, again, we're in 15 countries, 165 cities download this show. We're broadcast in multiple cities here in the US on broadcast stations as well. Just go to thestateofenergy.com, once again, thestateofenergy.com, and you'll see what we're about. You can listen to some of our past shows. You can find out how to get involved in the show. You can even join us on the show to talk about what your business is and how it can benefit people in their lives through propane. And again, you just go to thestateofenergy.com, and we're talking about PERC, an old show a couple weeks back that people should listen to is when we had the president and CEO of PERC, Tucker Perkins. Tucker Perkins was on with us a few weeks back, and it's available on podcast right now, and he had tremendous things to share with us.
Yeah, we talked about some of those. We talked about Propane Kids with Tucker, and he said some stuff about that. But the way that kind of helps us engage with kids also helps us do some workforce development stuff and help get some of these younger kids into jobs early on. So if you have a student that's looking to get into a career in the HVAC, because we need service techs to work on propane appliances. We've got a tuition reimbursement program for Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and Montana. If you go to a HVAC school, get certified, we have $1,000 tuition reimbursement program to help you get involved in the propane industry. So that's a nice little benefit there that you can take advantage of right now.
It's definitely one of these industries that's up and coming. Great. Hey, how great would it have been to invest in Apple or pick, Tesla, whatever. Just on the investment side for your dollar 15 years ago.
Yeah,
Think about being able to go back in time. That's what this is right here. This is an opportunity to go back in time and get involved in something, before it completely.
Clean energy sources are moving up big time, and I know that we getting attacked a lot by the electrification of everything, but realistically, they're seeing through this already. There's already legislators and policymakers that are saying, you know what, this isn't the answer, and there's so many other fuels or sources of clean energy out there, and propane, we've got lots of it, and there's only room for growth in this industry, and we really got to get in touch with all of your legislators and community leaders and let them know that when that conversation shows up to your community, that we don't just choose one winner. We don't just dump a bunch of money into electric. We got to expand our portfolio into a bunch of different clean energies, and propane's got to be one of those, and it's going to be one of those fuels, and we're going to really we're going to see a lot of growth in the propane industry coming up.
Look, the world of propane is upside over the next 5-10 years. I mean, that's something that we should talk about. I mean, what's going on, the projections for propane over the next 5-10 years,
it's big.
Look at it. Do your own research, see where it's going, and why wouldn't you want to get involved?
Yeah, propane is definitely going to be a leader in the clean energy sector. Renewable energy, renewable propane's coming up, getting bigger and bigger all the time.
Well, obviously you guys are getting a lot of traction worldwide, right? And that's pretty cool. That's really cool. And the fact of the matter is, like you said, there's so much money going into whether it's R&D or whatever, and all these other forms of energy. But in reality, propane it's made in America. It is affordable. It's portable. It's clean. It's multi-purpose. Unlike the fuel oil, and I ran a fuel oil company. Fuel oil, you usually don't use it for one sort of thing. Propane, you can use it for so many things, and it's clean. It doesn't spill, right? Nothing like a spill of some dirty fossil fuels, but it doesn't. If it spills, it just vaporizes. It's clean. It is a fantastic fuel.
4 propane commandments. Thou shalt be clean. Thou shalt be American. Thou shalt be abundant, and thou shalt be affordable. That, my friends, is propane.
That's right. Amen.
Folks, thank you very much. And thank you very much for letting us, join the conversation. We'd like to invite people to be on our show. Anybody that would like to get a hold of us, please go to thestateofenergy.com. Join us on the show. Get information about what propane can do for you. Maybe even find a new career.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thank you so much, and thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for being out there, standing up for propane. Honestly, we will close up now, and I'll be in touch with you all. You're both. You're fabulous, and thanks for what you're doing.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. The State of Energy.